Hey everybody, Bob Chick back with another year of The Last Rep, and what a way to kick it off. We've got some new sponsors. I want to thank our good friends from Aging Evolution for coming on board. Of course, my boys from Brazil, Black Skull USA is in the house. Finally in the USA. We'll tell you all about that a little bit later. And of course, our good friends at Torque and a brand new company called Sinister Labs. And that brings me to my first guest, of course, the one, the only, your five-time 212 Olympia champ, Flex Lewis.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you, Bob. Thank you. It's great to be doing this, and it's been some time since we've seen each other, so I'm looking forward to catching up this weekend.
Absolutely, bro. Well, speaking of which, I look in the background of your house there, and of course, a shot of you at the Arnold Classic with the man himself, the governor, on stage with the number one trophy and all that stuff. So some great memories there, and some great memories coming up this week. And now you'll, of course, be in the audience as a fan like with the rest of us. So let's delve right into it. We're going to get into business a little bit later, Flex. But all the word right now and all the talk is about the Arnold Classic coming up. And the 212 is actually, looks like it's the better of the two shows, because the Open, admittedly not the best and deepest lineup, but the 212 looks great.
Oh, absolutely. We've got everybody there, pretty much everybody from the Olympia minus myself. So, as you said, I'm going to be in the crowd, fat and happy.
Right.
But I'm definitely looking at what the results come from this weekend, and it definitely is going to be not a one-horse race, far from it. Everybody's there is coming for that number one spot. Now throw in Ascahani straight from his second place. It's definitely going to be a show that shouldn't be missed.
Now, Ashkenani gave you quite a run. I mean, he literally came out of nowhere at the Olympia. Gave you a real nice fight. And at the end of the day, of course, when the smoke cleared, you were back in the winner's circle, and we were center stage with that winner's speech, much to your chagrin, of course. But this guy's good. I mean, make no mistake. One of the critiques was that, of course, he had to bring up his legs a little bit, but he's had plenty of time to do that now. He looks great. I just saw pictures of your buddy Jose, though, and might be the best Jose Raymond I've ever seen.
Yeah, and for us 212 guys, we're all in connection. We're all in contact. Obviously, it's business up on stage, but from the fans' perspective, this show is definitely very exciting. Jose is from the words that he's told me, this is the best he's ever looked. Guy Sistanino also says this is the best he's ever looked. Ascahani, his coach, messaged me and said that his legs have been brought up from the Olympia. So, you know, the chips are going to fall this weekend, and we'll see who's victorious. But it's definitely going to be a great show.
Well, it's pretty loaded and pretty deep, which is what the 212 is known for. Is you guys bring in the trademark conditioning. The big boys usually a hit and miss when it comes to that. No offense to them, but the 212 definitely more consistent when it comes in, and more importantly, deeper. It's not unusual to have 8-10 guys on that stage who look damn good. I mean, it's very difficult sometimes to pick out that first and second call out.
Yeah, and you know, even when I'm up on that stage, I look around and I think to myself, man, how did that guy make the second call out? Not to name any names, but the 212 class is very exciting year round. I've always got my finger on the pulse, seeing who's coming up, what amateurs are turning pro, because it's face facts. Somebody could turn pro just like Ascahani,
right?
And then they're straight into a pro show and do what Ascahani done. And I've seen his rise over the last couple of years, because a lot of people think that he turned pro very fast and we straight into the mix. No, he was on the amateur circuit for a number of years.
Sure.
And he was a damn good amateur. He then decided to take his pro card. He was just that good, and you know, rightly so. And look what his first year on a professional 212 stage got him. You know, a lot of people doubt themselves as amateurs, and this guy, I'm sure for a number of years, didn't really see his true potential, coming from his own words when him and I have spoken. And jumping up and standing against the likes of myself, Jose, David Henry, in that top 5 at the Olympia, you know, again, wasn't out of place whatsoever. And it's definitely a battle, and I welcome that. I love it. Every year has been a new battle against somebody else, whether it was David Henry the first year, Jose Raymond the year after that, Ascahani. But then, you look at the storyline that's going into this year's Arnold, this year's Olympia.
Right.
There's no clear-cut first place.
Now, speaking of which, you mentioned a couple of the guys. David Henry, a consummate professional, of course, but one of the veterans when it comes to not only the stage, but of course, as everybody knows by now, David was active Air Force for many, many years. But I see David Henry's name. Is Eduardo Correa in the show?
That I'm not too sure about.
I don't have a list in front of me, but I've seen a lot of the names coming out. I also saw Zane Watson. I don't know if he was in the Open or if he was in the 212, but if he's in the 212, boy, I just saw a picture of him. He looks great.
Yeah, he looks great. And I follow, I said, all the guys and keep my finger on the pulse. And I'd seen a new picture of Zane a couple of days ago, if not 2 days ago. And yeah, he's bringing it. All these guys are hungry. All these guys want it. And I always keep myself in that position and train as if it's my first ever Olympia. So I put all the pressure, all the nerves on myself, just like these guys. But the guys who are hungry, that's the ones you got to look out for. And Zane is definitely one in the mix that wants it bad.
Well, he'll have all the Zaniacs from Canada down there. They're coming from cold to colder because it's going to be trademark freezing in Columbus once again, bro. But 212 will be heating up the stage. That's for sure. We'll keep our eye on that. The men's open now has taken a lot of criticism this year, not just for lack of numbers, but for lack of top 5 Olympians. There are none for the record in this show. All of them choosing to sit it out for one reason or another. Phil Heath, of course, the reigning current Mr. Olympia, we weren't expecting, but everybody else was pretty much fair game. Kai is going to be on a microphone, which would be real interesting, with our good friend Flex Wheeler, Generation Iron, putting out a webcast of that event. Can't wait to see. I'm almost excited just to hear that than see the show. But your good buddy Dallas McCarver is one of the front runners into the show, and this thing's wide open. Cedric McMillan, Dallas McCarver. You got a lot of new guys in there, not a lot of veterans. This thing's wide open. It
is wide open, and again, the fans, of course, have put their ums and ahs in, saying, well, why isn't Sean Roden or why isn't, et cetera, going into the show this year? And to your point, they have different visions, different goals, and they're focusing on the Olympia. But that show still is going to be not a one-horse race. Dallas, I've known Dallas since he was a teen. I mean, only that was a couple of years ago.
Right.
And I see him every single day in the gym, training and busting ass.
He's a beast.
Him and I joke around, but he'll text me the night before. He's like, "Hey, I'm training back tomorrow." Yeah, go ahead, buddy. You go do your thing. But no, I come in the gym and that guy's lifting, 6-7 plates off the floor like nothing. And I know it's not a strength game here, but he's doing it for reps and perfect form. And this is another guy that's hungry, wants it bad. I've also had a couple of talks with him not to put so much pressure on himself.
Sure.
You got to remind himself that he's only 25 years old.
Yeah.
And that's the scary thing. The longevity is what I want him to focus on. And he wants it bad enough. He's got that first place sight in his visions. And it's just going to be a very, very interesting battle. And I, for one, I believe in Dallas. I've seen where he's come from. He's made moves just like myself to be around people, and iron sharpens iron, and put himself in a position in life where he's going to better himself. So he's making all these moves, and he's obviously getting some criticism from the fans. And I was saying, listen, bro.
Welcome to the big time, right?
If you think that I don't get it,
sure.
Phil Heath doesn't get it. I said, when you win the actual title, then you realize what criticism is. So at the top, I can give him stories, but on the climb, of course, I can remember what it was like to put that pressure on himself. So
sure.
I told him, go in. Top 5 is an amazing placement. Top 3 is an achievement. And if you win, then, man, I'd be tearing up myself because I know how much he wants it.
Well, the pride of Blue Goose, Tennessee. There's a reason they call him Big Country. And let me tell you something. For those who have never seen Dallas in person, this is one Big kid, man. I tell you, almost 6'2", 300 pounds. And like I said, 25 years old, which is absolutely insane. The future looks great for him. I fully expect it to be coming down between him and Cedric. And I tell you what, that's a battle. But they're both big boys. They both bring a little something different to the package. Cedric certainly more seasoned professional. Lots of shows under his belt. Dallas just starting. So I think it's going to show up to be a decent show. I mean, like I say, no, it's not deep. It's not one of the better lineups we've seen over the years. But listen, that's not up to the athletes. So you can't hold them accountable. Everybody's there to win this show. Either way, no matter how you dice it, it's the Arnold still. It starts off the year. I can't wait to get there myself. Lots of stuff going on this year. And speaking of lots going on, Flex, that brings us to the big news of the day, of course. Big news out of the Flex Lewis training camp not too long ago. You put out a little message on social media saying, I'm no longer with BSN, wish him the best, but we're parting ways. That was subsequently followed up by the biggest news of the year so far. You have signed with a new company, my friend.
I have. And I'm pleased to announce that we are launching at the Arnold Classic. It's myself and Scott James. And for everybody who knows Scott James and whoever he doesn't know, he was one of the original owners, one of two that started BSN. So it's gone full circle for me now, coming into the US as a teenager, and my first ever pre-worker was NO Explored, to now working with a man himself. So it's an honor for me, and just to, quote something I said earlier, iron sharpens iron. I'm around some phenomenal people in my life right now, and Scott now and myself are taking this business to the next level, and very interested, the marketplace at the moment, not to delve right into this, but it's oversaturated with supplementation. Everybody's got a pre-workout. Right. And that's when, everybody's eyes were on Scott when he was coming out with something new into the supplement industry. Everybody thought that he was going to come out with just another,
sure,
like everybody else.
Sure.
So him and I spoke at great length, and functional foods is a great marketplace for us. The branding is perfect. We want to be the Nike of the food-based industry here, coming in and taking it by storm. And
so just to clarify, now Sinister Labs is the name of the company, because yes, a lot of people I saw were confused when you came out with the press release last week. Angry Mills is the name of the product. Now that's caffeine-infused peanut butters and different things, and Scott, and you have a lot of things coming out. And just to clarify even further, you're in at the ownership level. You're just not assigned as a featured athlete like most people would think. You're actually in at the ownership level.
I am. Again, myself and Scott, to clarify, have partnered up. Sinister Labs was born. Angry Mills is our flagship product at the moment. It's a protein-infused, caffeinated and non-caffeinated spread. We have almond to peanut butter, many different flavors, from wicked white chocolate, killer caramel, chocolate chaos, and we will be sampling at the booth. Plus, we have a lot of great things in the marketplace coming out soon, from protein-infused muffins, pancake mixes, coffees, granola. Nice. So we are taking over the functional foods market. And for anybody who's seen our marketing, they see the skull and obviously the badass artist gone with that. Many might think like, well, aren't you putting yourself into a box, into a genre of being too hardcore? We are creating the category.
Right.
It's genre neutral. Everybody else, you've got the sunshine and rainbows type of spreads out there. We are coming out as hardcore.
Well, I see you got the shirt on, Flex. If you could just lift up a little bit so people can see the logo.
Let me stand up.
Yeah, go ahead. Oh, yeah. Are you standing?
This is Benny. I am standing.
Oh, okay.
You would get that. This is Benny. This is our
Benny the skull. Well, Benny. That's Scott. For any of us that know Scott, that's him all day long. But listen, Scott is a mastermind, incredibly talented and intelligent. The things he did with BSN were just short of incredible. I was there myself while Scott was there in his last year, and then of course you signed with him. Now moving on, of course, to Scott's newest venture. So I wish Scott the best, and bro, this looks like a absolute great move for you, for the future, for business. for the industry itself. Now, you will be at the Arnold coming out. This is the debut booth, actually, for Sinister Labs and for Angry Mills.
Yeah.
Looks like, according to my notes, you are booth number 931 at
That
the
is
Arnold.
excellent.
For those keeping score at home, 931. You can catch Flex Lewis at the booth. Scotty will be there himself. So looks like the future looks bright, my friend.
The future does look bright, and we got, like I said, such an amazing team around this. And to your point, Scott has taken BSN from his baby to the monster that it ended up being. And I'm very excited to team up with Scott and do the very same year with Sinister Labs. So come and see us, guys. We're going to be sampling. The booth is going to be crazy. We've got some celebrity guest appearances other than myself on the booth. I'll leave that to the days of the Arnold for you guys to find out. But follow us on the Instagram page as well, so you can keep up to date on everything that's going on. Sinister Labs.
You got it. Well, Flex, we'll catch up soon. You are a busy man these days between competing, and obviously we'll catch up throughout the year on your Olympia prep. You got your own show. You got your own gym now. You got yourself a daughter. So you're about as busy as it gets.
Oh, it's full shebang. I'm actually here in the office right now with all the madness that's going on at the Arnold. We're still pumping out. I also have Dragon Nutra, which is a cosmeceutical company as well. So we've got many different things going on here, along with the Project Flex camps, along with things that I'm doing with the military. As a champion, I pride myself in walking, with that badge, with that belt, and giving back as much as I can to my fans, to the guys overseas. And, the belt itself and the title itself means much more than an introduction. It's how you represent the sport. And now, this year, having the 5th title and going, God willing, into the 6th, we're pushing down boundaries and we're getting in front of the mainstream. And that's what bodybuilding now is with me in my life, is moving that bar up and up and up, and getting in front of different people. And, again, handshakes, babies kissing, and spreading the sport in a good light.
Excellent. Well, listen, you carry yourself like a true champion, Flex, and I wish you the best, my friend. I will see you actually in about 24 hours. We'll see you in Columbus. I'll stop by the booth, of course. Give me some of that smooth peanut butter. It's good for the voice, I understand. So
for the voice.
Safe travels, my friend, and we'll catch up at the Arnold.
Thank you, Bob. Take care, my friend. See you soon.
All right, well, that was a great interview with 5-time Olympia champ Flex Lewis, David, and Flex has got quite the exciting future ahead of him.
Yeah, no, he's one of those guys who's got a good head on his shoulders. He's always making good decisions as far as his competitive plans and all the things off the stage. And so I'm fully confident that whatever direction he goes, he's going to be doing well for himself, and this looks like a good one for him.
Well, yeah, this has been definitely an off season with a whole lot of change here, bro, especially for you and I and a lot of the other people in this industry. Right. Most people know you are no longer with the MD online editor position, but a new position, which is looks like when one door closed, looks like a whole bunch of other ones open. Looks like you got yourself a gig in Hawaii coming up next week.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Thanks to Bob for being an integral part in facilitating that. But I'm really excited. I've never been to Hawaii before. It'll be my first time participating in emceeing an IFBB show. And on top of all that, it's a Tim Gardner show, the first pro show I ever covered Tim's shows. And from the first time he met me, which was at Junior Nationals in 2013, he's been nothing but gracious and an excellent guy to work with. So, it's an honor, but I'm excited. So, week from next week, I'll be hopping on a plane from snowy Appleton to Honolulu. So I'm pretty excited.
Beautiful. Well, congratulations, my friend. The first of many to come, I'm sure. And we'll be seeing you around the circuit, of course, as I'm sure we'll be out covering some of the shows and some exciting new direction for us as well. All the talk right now, of course, buddy, is on the Arnold coming up. I'm actually out tomorrow. We got the Arnold Seminar, of course, on Sunday that I'll be doing. And other than that, it's business with Black Skull and a bunch of other various things I got going over the weekend. Kind of an interesting yin and the yang here. You got the 212, which we're going to focus on, and the Open. Obviously, you've got all the other divisions, but we're going to stick with what we know best. The 212 is pretty loaded up. That's not a surprise. But you've got 11 guys, and it's 11 deep. I mean, you got some damn good athletes here in this 212.
Yeah, no, I mean, you have Jose Raymond, who's won it 2 years ago. You have Hidetada, who won it last year. You have Ahmad Ashkanini, who beat both of those guys at last year's Olympia, finishing only behind Flex Lewis,
Right.
Guy Cisternino, David Henry, Charles Dixon. I mean, and you got Zane Watson from Canada, who's won 212 shows and arguably could have been the winner of some open shows. Kwan Wong Kang, not known for being super shredded, but a fantastic physique. Mitch Stats, just after earning a pro card not that long ago, he's going to be in there. I don't know if he's a top 3 guy, but he's definitely going to be a contender. So the 212 is stacked, and we've seen that before. We've seen it at the Olympia.
Yeah.
We've seen it at a ton of the 212 shows where sometimes guys are looking at the open and wishing there was a little bit more depth or a little bit more quality. That seems to never be the case with the 212. And for this year's Arnold Classic, it's definitely going to be stacked. That first call out and even in the second, if they have to go 3 deep, is going to be very interesting.
Well, Ashkanani, the newcomer that we saw explode onto the scene at the Olympia, taking a very impressive second place to Flex Lewis, I am told has made some progress on his legs. He knows that's a weak part, or weaker, I should say. Allegedly, he's made that improvement. So I tell you what, this guy with an extra inch or 2 on his legs could be some real trouble. But he's got to be the guy you got to be looking at, of course, to be taken out. But, I mean, the rest of these guys, like I say, Hidetada, David Henry, obviously a former 202 champ when we first started the division. And Jose looks absolutely amazing. I just saw an updated picture of Jose the other day. It might be the best Jose I've ever seen.
Yeah, and one of the things that a lot of people overlooked last year, or overlooked or just didn't know, because Jose is not one of those guys to complain about anything. If he's got issues, he's going to keep it quiet and just put in the work. And that's what was the issue with Jose. I'm pretty tight with him. He was battling some pretty serious knee issues last year, which he faced at the Arnold. We noticed at the Olympia, one of his legs was downsized just a little bit, which normally isn't the case at all for Jose. He had surgery done on that leg. He's had some time to really get back after it as far as his leg training. His conditioning is on point. So I definitely am not writing Jose off at all. In fact, I think if his legs are a little bit more balanced and he shows up in the type of condition we know he can, I think it's going to be a really good battle, and I think we could see him regain his Arnold Classic title.
Well, almost a repeat, a couple new names in there, but almost a repeat of the Olympia. Sans, obviously, Flex Lewis opting not to go in. Can't blame him for that. He's the 5-time champ, so he gets to sit out. My good friend, well, there's a few guys that aren't in the lineup. I'm a little surprised at that. Eduardo Correa, not in the lineup, and this is arguably a lineup that he's very much in the mix in, but he chose to sit this one out. I'll tell you who my dark horse pick is right now. Now, it's not necessarily to win the show, although he could. It'd be a little tough doing. But my man Zane Watson from Canada has made tremendous improvements. Again, he had an updated pick the other day. It's absolutely tremendous. Most muscular shot. Veiny as all get out. Skin is thin. This guy's ready to go. But all the Zaniacs will be in attendance, brother.
When the first time I saw him compete in Canada, it was like people were going nuts. Obviously, he was in front of a home crowd, but he's one of those guys who travels well. He's got a lot of people that come watch him compete. So, yeah, he's going to have some fans in the crowd. The first time I saw him win in Toronto, he looked absolutely incredible. And like I had touched on a little bit earlier, I could make an argument for him having won the Open that year.
Sure.
We saw him last year a little bit downsized. I think he was going through some personal issues and stuff like that. So he was a little bit downsized. But if he can come back and show up the way he looked when he won that the 212 in Toronto a few years ago, he can definitely be a contender to win. And these are some of the guys that he hasn't stood against at his best. Again, we saw him, compete last year where he wasn't at his best, but you've never seen 100% Zane Watson against, Jose and Guy and Hidetada,
Sure.
and he could take some of those guys out.
Well, another guy, the tank, Charles Dixon, this guy carries more muscle per inch than literally anybody else on there. And you got some good muscle out there, but if he's dialed in, again, he's a threat. I think you'll absolutely see him in that first call out with Hidetada, Guy Cisternino, David and Ahmad, and Jose, of course. I think you're going to see almost a split in half. I mean, you're going to get 6 guys called out in this first call out. So, tell you, the 212 is always bringing it, man. These guys are consistent. They're always in shape, and the fans love them. This class has exploded over the last 3 years.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Guy Cisternino shows up at. Like, he's one of these guys where the angrier he gets,
Yeah, I know.
the better he gets. And he's one of these guys where, he busts his ass, and anybody who follows him online or on social media or anything knows that he takes this stuff as serious as anybody. So, when he's at a show and doesn't feel like he quite got the look that he should have, he doesn't hang his head. He just goes back in the gym and goes back to work to try to be better for next time. So he's coming in. It's a little cliche to say a chip on his shoulder, but a little bit. And so he's got something to prove. And he's one of these, guys. He's won the New York Pro. He's won the Europa. He's won a bunch of 212 shows. He hasn't won one of the big ones yet, but he's always going to be in the mix. And he's one of these guys where if he really nails it and he comes in maybe just a little bit fuller, he can win too. He's not somebody that you can write off.
Well, guys, Cicherillo, that the question is not his physique. He's got a spectacular physique. He's one of the bigger, wider guys out there, and he's very consistent with his conditioning. The biggest question, David, is beard or no beard?
I think you get on stage. I think you shave the beard. I think some guys can pull off a beard. I think Guy pulls it off pretty decent. You see him training. He kind of looks like King Leonidas from the 300 when he's in the gym. I think when you get on stage, though, I've never been a fan of beards or mustaches on a bodybuilder.
No. And listen, we've talked.
It's been a while since we've seen a good mustache on stage.
I think the return of the mustache will certainly make its appearance this year. But listen, here's the bottom line, and we've had this discussion before. Listen, the beard is a curse. All right, nobody has won a show with a beard since 1983. Jessup Wilkoch out of Germany. Okay,
Jessup.
his claim to fame, bro. Other than that, listen, you could do the Charles Dixon, the pencil line beard, or a Brandon Curry or something like that. That doesn't really count. I'm talking the full, like I say, 300, Leonidas type thing. It ain't gonna go, man. Guy, if you're watching this, please take the razor, shave the beard. All right.
I think we'll probably see him trim it off for his.
I would hope. If you want a shot to win, I'm just saying, not cursing you, but it's going to happen. Speaking of the curse, could it happen? Could a man with a beard win the show?
Don't even get me started. If you
Could
haven't
Flex
watched
Lewis
the show,
win 6 times at the Olympia?
If you haven't watched the show, The Curse of Oak Island, Bob and I have been watching it feverishly for the last 4 seasons.
Yes.
They're searching for treasure on an island in Canada, and they lead you on like nobody has ever led anybody on in the history of anything. It's one of those shows I should have stopped watching halfway through season 1, but I watch it religiously, and here we are 5 seasons in.
Got to give it up for the Lagina brothers. Or is it Lagina? I'm sorry.
They say Lagina. You know very well.
I say Lagina. You say
2 guys had called the Laginas nonstop. It was probably a rough few years for them. But look at them now.
Yeah, high school wasn't good. But listen, I'm confident they will find something somewhere in the next 4 seasons. So we'll be watching. But
Spanish coins, wood. Spanish coins, wood.
Yeah, wood. Great.
They found a button. So making progress.
Hey, at this rate, they will spend way more than this thing will ever be worth. But I love it, man. I love watching this thing. I look forward to it every week. We'll keep tabs on that one. Listen, hopefully somebody can strike gold in this men's open, because this thing is about, I don't want to say wide open, because I think there's a few front runners. But when the lineup first came out, it didn't look too bad. But quickly it exited. Sean Roden, Justin Compton, and Brandon Curry out. And Fuad Abiad, Will Harris, believe it or not, my old buddy World Harris, coming in at us at a youthful 55 years old. And Michael Lockett added into the lineup. There are no top 5 Olympians in this lineup. Probably the first time in many, many years that we've seen that. But, listen, you got a show to win. Oh, also Jocelyn Arnowitz, the king of the gym. He had to pull out at some point, which was sad to see, actually, because, this guy's a front runner. I mean, I really like Josh. I would have liked to have seen him compete here, but we also won't see him at Tony Doherty's show a couple weeks later in his home country of Australia. But let's focus on who is there. And I'm just going to go down the lineup here numerically, but my good buddy Fuad Abiad, Canada's favorite son, he got injured a couple weeks ago. Injured his thigh.
I heard he had an issue with his quad or something. But if there's somebody who's going to push through and still get on stage with an injury, Fuad. I mean, when he got second to Branch at that Dallas Europa, he was in a bathroom, I think, for about 48 hours, just up until getting on stage, puking and everything else. And in a situation where a lot of guys would have hung it up, he said, "You know what? I put in the work. I've gotten this far. I'm going to finish what I started." And he actually ended up looking ridiculous. You were there, MC.
Oh yeah.
So it's the thing is with injuring something where you tweak it or you pull something, if it's not going to be visibly noticeable, and if you can still flex it, and it's not going to hinder, maybe doing cardio,
right,
then sometimes guys can compete with injuries, and we've seen people get injured leading into shows where, look, if you tear a bicep or tear a pec or something like that, you're probably not going to be able to get on stage, hit the shots. But if you have something in your leg that might be a little bit minor, he's still going to be able to hit his front poses, his back shots and stuff like that. If he did it 3 weeks out, his conditioning should be pretty close to where it needs to be. So he should be able to push forward with cardio, even if it comes down to I know some guys who have tweaked their legs here and there have used a hand bike for cardio.
Sure.
So, he's not a guy to make excuses. And if he's going to get on stage, injury or not, I think he's probably still pushing.
Luckily, it was a few weeks ago. Now, the difference there is if you injure it close enough to the show, it's going to hold water. I mean, any injured area is going to swell. It's going to hold water. So even if you're flexing it, it's going to be noticeable. Hopefully, it was far enough out. I like Fuad. I like his physique. I like what he brings to the table. So hopefully, he'll be able to get around us and you don't notice it at all. You got a couple of front runners here. You got Lionel Bayecki.
The big question mark.
Always a big question mark. Listen, this guy.
He could very easily. I don't want to say easily to disrespect the other guys, but if he showed up at 100%, and that's such a huge if, but if he did, he's your winner.
Well, I agree with that. I mean, I think he has actual best pure physique out there. With him, it's always that question mark of conditioning. He's not really missing anything per se. Very complete, good round muscle, small joints, conditioning, man. And even in this lineup, which is not the best we've ever seen, but it's still, you got some formidable athletes here, including Cedric McMillan and Dallas McCarver. Now, these two names have been pretty much the two front runners from day one, as soon as some of the other top names went out, like Roden and Compton. Dallas, we just saw. Now, Dallas has caught a whole bunch of flack over the last couple of weeks from that famous video now that our good friend Chad put out, where they went to Jim Mannion to get some posing, pointers and things like that. Now, listen, it's weeks out of this show. He's a big boy. He's almost 6'2". He's 300 freaking pounds. The reason they call him Big Country. Bottom line is this, though. That's then and this is now. If Chad dials this kid in, and I say kid because he's 25 years old still, which is pretty frightening in itself. He's in the mix. I mean, there's no way he's not in the mix with Cedric.
No, and I mean, him and Cedric were the top two placers, minus the guys that were the top five, and actually top six at the Olympia with Ruli having been sixth place. But as far as the highest Olympia finishers, you had Cedric in seventh and Dallas in eighth. So they have to be your two front runners at this show. It comes down to a question again of Cedric's conditioning. I think at 100% structurally, from the front and the side, I think Cedric and Dallas would be pretty close. I still think Cedric's back is a little bit more advanced than Dallas's. Yeah. And, obviously, like you said, Dallas is 25, 26 years old. So he's got plenty of time to bring that up. But when we're talking right now, I think it's going to be very, hypothetically speaking, if it came down to those two guys, I think it would very close until they hit their back shots, in which structurally I think Cedric is going to have a little bit better V-taper in his rear double bicep and his rear lat spread. That being said, if Cedric is a little bit off, even having a little bit of an advantage as far as structure in his back shots, if Cedric's a little bit off and Dallas is really on and he's got some gnarly conditioning in those back shots, that definitely counts for something. And he could gain the advantage there. And so it's going to be a pose for pose battle between those two. And it really they're both huge guys. So in this case, it really comes down to conditioning.
Well, the next crew in my mind is going to be the Michael Lockett, Juan Morel, Max Charles, Vitaly Fativ, if he's in shape. We've seen him really miss the mark, and we've seen him on the mark, two different physiques. And Luke Sandow. Now, that's not a name that a lot of people know, but this kid's impressive. I'm impressed with his.
I think. He's pretty out there on social media. He's with Iron Rebel and gets a lot of good exposure through those guys. But I think everybody's going to take big time notice of him. His conditioning looks good. He's absolutely huge, and he's one of these guys who he probably could have been a pro 3-4 years ago. He turned pro overseas, in Europe, which, as we know, it's a little bit more difficult to get a pro card there. So he's had the physique of a pro for a number of years. He finally got his pro card, got his conditioning together.
Impressive, yeah.
He's a freaky guy. I mean, he's not real tall. I think he's only 5'7", 5'8", but he's carrying a ton of muscle, and he's going to be in pretty gnarly conditioning if he shows up anything like he did at his last show. And I think he's one of these guys that can surprise a lot of people. The big question mark, of course, is he looks great in video. He looked great on stage next to some of the other competitors. How is he going to look next to some of the best in the IFBB is the big question mark that I have. Obviously, a lot of these guys look huge standing by themselves. Personally, I think Luke is going to look huge on any stage, but that's the question mark, is how does he stand next to these guys?
Well, let's face. I mean, let's just put this in perspective. Hopefully, for his sake, he's not standing in between Dallas and Cedric, because that can tilt the entire thing one way when you got two big boys like that. And they're about the same size in terms of height. Dallas actually bigger than Cedric when it comes to just pure muscle mass. Like I said, he's a big boy. But these two guys can kind of set the tone if they're both in shape, which I suspect they will be. Listen, a good big man's always going to beat a good small man. That's just always the way bodybuilding has been, and always the way it's going to be. They just look a lot more impressive. It's the difference between, as we've talked about many times, the super heavyweight, standing next to the middleweight. Middleweight looked great when he was on his own. All of a sudden, well, not too impressive, when you're giving up 80 pounds of muscle. So this is going to be real interesting to see how this plays out. And a great show. Listen, one of these guys can establish themselves. Juan Morel. Like, to me, this is a pivotal show for Juan Morel. This is his opportunity. Like, he can take some people out right here and really kind of, listen, he's been coming up. But like I say, this is kind of your pivot point to me. Is this a show that Juan Morel can sneak into that top three?
I think so, and I think it has to do with other people's factors. I think if you have everybody else at their best, all things being equal, I think if Cedric, Dallas, and Lionel are at their best, they're placing ahead of Juan just because of the size of Juan's quads. I'm not even going to say Juan's legs, because in his side shot he's got a crazy hamstring hang. But if everybody's at 100%, no, I don't think you're going to see Juan in the top three. But if some of these other guys slip even a little bit and Juan is on, then yeah, he can. And he's one of these guys that not that many people are talking about. Everybody, with Dallas being as young as he is, and probably the biggest up and comer right now, and it's hard to even say up and comer because he's already pretty well established himself, but he's still so young. And with Cedric placing, second behind Kai Green in a rather controversial second place, because people talked about, maybe he was ahead after prejudging or whatever. Obviously, all eyes are going to be on Dallas and Cedric, and so people haven't really been talking about Juan, and I think that's a mistake. Not really the people not talking about him, but if any of these competitors are overlooking Juan and thinking that he's not really a factor, I think that's a big mistake. He's a guy that's placed, top 5, and I think every IFBB show he's been in the last couple of years, other than the Olympia and the Arnold. So he's rarely ever off. We've seen him better at some shows than he is at others, but he's never just off. You don't see Juan show up and be like, oh, he really missed the mark. It's like, he could be a little bit better. But yeah, I think Juan can be a definite threat. He'd have to be pretty off to slip outside the first call out, as far as I'm concerned. But he's gonna have to really nail it to make that top 3.
Well, there's only 10 guys, so hopefully nobody else goes out with injury, sickness. Anything can happen in bodybuilding. It's just the nature of the beast. But a very smallest lineup actually they've ever had there. But again, this is where champions can be made. It'll be a great show and a great weekend. Of course, the Arnold always starting off the bodybuilding season, which has now become a tradition over the many years that they've had. Now 28 years, I think, now for the Arnold, or somewhere in that range. It's been a while.
It's been a few years, but. It'll be. I'll tell you what. The other thing is, it seems like the Arnold's forever. It's a lot like the Olympia. If you look all the way back to 2002 when Cutler started winning them, we've only had a handful of winners. You had Cutler in the early 2000s. You had Dexter, Branch, Kai. Victor won one.
Dexter and Branch went back and forth 4 times with that. Kai Kai not in the lineup, but interestingly, making his long-awaited debut, doing some color commentary on the webcast. I, for one, can't wait to tune into that.
I tell you what, I've had a chance to hang out with Kai a little bit, not a lot. I'm not going to act like him and I are BFFs, but I've had a couple, dinners with him, sit down at lunch and stuff. And when you hang out and you just BS with the guy, he's just like totally normal.
Absolutely.
Just like when you're having lunch, he doesn't say, "Well, my mindset on eating these fries is I'm going to try." I mean, he doesn't get like that. He just totally BS's. And sometimes I wish he would be that way, when they put a microphone in front of him. But that's just Kai.
If it's classic Kai, they could be on the fourth guy by the time he's done with the intro.
I think it's gonna be interesting color commentary. I mean, look, Kai's been bodybuilding for the better part of 3 decades. I mean, so he knows the sport as well as anybody else. He's going to be able to make good calls as far as who should be placing where, analysis. He's competed against a lot of these guys. So he's as knowledgeable as anybody else, but whether he's going to articulate that, or actually I shouldn't say whether he's going to articulate, whether he's going to over-articulate. Right. It'll be a good, our guy Flex Wheeler is going to be on there with him. It'll be an interesting offset. Flex, when he flex on the camera, he's as casual and laid back and just a chill kind of guy, and Kai's going to be really, kind of going in depth. So it'll be an interesting combination having those two.
An interesting dynamic, to say the least. Did you get that one, David? Dynamic.
Oh yeah.
Nothing.
That's you're always. I gotta be sharper when I'm talking to you.
You should be taking notes for Hawaii, but I'll send you. I'll put some notes in the front pocket there, so you got something to work with at the show.
I'm still trying to come with my own intro tagline. This time just the sexy people is already taken.
Just give me some credit on there. That's you can use it, bro. Just steal any of my stuff. It's okay. It's all right. All right. Well, listen, David. That's going to wrap things up for the first edition this year of The Last Rep. We'll be back on a weekly basis from here on out. You can catch us right here on YouTube, and of course, The Last Rep website coming soon to you. So we're going to have a whole bunch of new stuff coming up. And we will be back on the rebound after the Arnold for the breakdown. Of course, we'll have some results by that point. We'll pretty much report on all the stuff. It should be a great and exciting weekend. So enjoy. Stay there in balmy Wisconsin, bro. I will be in.
Yeah, I will be. I got some business. I would love to be at the Arnold. First time I'm not going to be there in a few years. I've got some business stuff I'm taking care of here that I couldn't really walk away from to make it to Columbus for the weekend. So
cool.
I'm gonna be watching the live stream with everybody else, checking out the pictures, and I wish I could be there, but I'm excited to be going to Hawaii, and there's a pretty strong chance that I'll be hanging out in Columbus again next year. So.
All right, buddy. Well, we will check in after the Arnold, and that's going to wrap things up here for this edition of The Last Rep.